Welcome back, everyone, to Shanghai for live coverage of the Dota 2 Asia Championships 2017. Our upper bracket is now complete bar one game. We now know the upper bracket finalists, OG having triumphed earlier on against Newbie 2-0, and IG making hard work of Team Empire in the second semi-finals, but they are now into that upper bracket final. Attention now turns to the lower bracket as we head down there for 4 best of ones. That's right, it's those dastardly best of ones to go through. We've also refreshed our panel a little bit and inserted some fresh blood onto the panel to bring some joy to us to this afternoon.
Joy
and happiness.
Well,
adding,
that wasn't convincing.
You're adding me to the
because
panel.
these two are boring, Shiva.
What were you saying about Kevin? If she's bringing the joy, what did she replace in that? I took it as you were insulting Kevin.
If I'm bringing
Agreed.
the joy, I think we need that because we need to offset the blood and tears that we're going to see from all the best of ones and 4 teams that are going home, because that's going to be crazy.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I might be a bit sadistic, Cat, but I kind of like these. Like when we get to TI, you go into that lower bracket, you're like, it's so horrible for all the players, but we love it.
Everybody's like, oh, this is so terrible, or like, oh man, teams must hate this, and I'm just sitting there like, yeah.
If every match wasn't an elimination match, they would all be meaningless, you know? Come on.
Let's just play best of 3s at Phenom, you know? Never end.
Yeah.
In my opinion, best of ones, this is where it's at. Teams try hardest. It's just that.
Okay.
Lower bracket.
We're going to get into the teams, but for now, let's introduce you to them.
即将为您带来的是 LGD Forever Young 对阵 IG Vitality。
Okay then, our 2 teams have entered the arena and will now enter their booths, get ready for the draft, the one and only draft in this best of 1 in the lower bracket. We said we enjoyed these, and we do enjoy these. The teams, however, the players, guys, can you even imagine what goes through their minds when they go through big games? They've got best of 1, they're going to go through all that rigmarole of coming out into the arena, and 20 minutes later they could be out of the tournament.
That's loser thought right there.
Sorry, 30 minutes later, they could be in the next round.
Absolutely, yeah. It could be in the best of 3s, you know. Then you're not 1 game away from elimination.
Yeah,
that'd be the nice bit. But, yeah, mentally they're tough. You know, there's always that chance you get cheesed. You try and stop that from happening at all costs with the drafts, ban out your Auks, your Nagas. But sometimes they're going to slip through in the first stage. Sometimes a pick that you're not expecting is going to happen, and it can be a brutal way to go out of a tournament.
Let's start by talking about LFY, Shiva.
Yeah.
Have they impressed you? Because I think they were one of the overachievers in the group stage. They could have almost squeaked into the top 2.
So LFY, for me, I wasn't really expecting too much going into this, looking at the stacked teams that we had here. They 2-0'd Wings, and it kind of, you know, Wings didn't look too great. And it's a Chinese team, so they're very well known for LFY. They also 2-0'd Faceless, who I didn't rate that highly either. And the rest is all like losses or a 1-0 as well. I think LFY coming into this has least to lose. This is a team that has never been at the top in China and is actually on the way up. Their opponents have been kind of at the top and now are struggling to fight against their sister team IG. So for LFY, I'm actually expecting to see them perform very well this game.
And key players in here, Cap, you'd imagine White would be another man they would rely on again.
Yeah, sure. I also really like Jising and who's our carry player again? I lost it. Monet, sorry.
Monet.
I like both of those players because I think they output like really. I think it's kind of similar to another lineup that we were just talking about it, where you have a player that can really go off it sometimes, which is Jising. I think he's got those kind of performances that were like he hits really hard sometimes, isn't always the most consistent, but I think Monet as a carry player always puts in like really strong performances. So I think you've got that nice. I like to see teams that have a core on each side of the table that are always able to either A, put in a really consistent performances or go above and beyond.
Okay, let's take a look at Vitality for you as well. They are opponents in this lower bracket game. Another team that have had a very good start to 2017. Also, Kevin's favourite player in the world, just because he's got a great name in Dogfights. But also, I guess the standout players so far for us have been Super and Paparazzi, Shiva, haven't they?
Definitely. Super's in the positioning he's not been playing the most diverse hero pool. He has Crystal Maiden and Warlock most of all. But his positioning is superb because those heroes are very difficult to play the moment that you're out of position, especially in a meta where we see a lot of fours roaming as heavily as they are, with Monkey King, for example. You need to have pristine positioning, gods.
Yeah, I'm still not sold on IG.V. They kind of rose up and were like winning a lot of the Chinese qualifiers. They got to Star Ladder. They recently won the Kiev major qualifier, but they've yet to perform well in a big international land. They haven't had that experience. And I also feel like they've done well at a time where the rest of the teams were kind of underperforming.
Still trying to find themselves.
I'm not sold that this is a team that's going to be making waves. They're the team that like the hipster Dota fans like to cheer for. Like they're going to be the next Wings. Like they've got all these like new they got like some 9K guy called Paparazzi who's like the next big upcoming youngster. Like the hipster Dota fans love to cheer for this team because it's like you'll be like, oh man, I cheered for this team from the beginning. But I think realistically this is a team that has done really well, but once all these real top tier teams are back in form, they're going to struggle to stay at the top.
Okay, I honestly, I did not have them down as the hipster team.
Surely as individual matchup performances, though, right? The IG.V have to have an edge, right? I personally think,
Paparazzi more in general.
Yeah,
like
okay. yeah.
I'm just calling IG.V, you know, but
yeah, I agree.
Not for this matchup.
Yeah, I think that in this matchup, it's like IG.V. If you look at Paparazzi compared to Monet, and you look at Dogfights and compared to White, I think that there's a very clear difference between those two. Just stronger performances overall.
Yeah. Even though the numbers might not really suggest that.
I think LFY they've got some interesting ideas about the meta. They like if Empire, or if LFY ran the Empire lineup that we saw in game number 3, I think they would more likely to pull that off because I think LFY is more likely to pull off those kind of 5-man death ball-y push lineups. Okay. Maybe that's just because they've got Super in his Dragon Knight, but I think like this is a team that is more likely to make those kind of those kind of out of the meta drafts work for them.
Who is the better Super though? That's the question. It's going to be a tricky one for the commentators to constantly, differentiate.
You call him Little Super.
Yeah. But which one is the Little Super?
No, because it does a little
capital
S.
Capital
S is the mid. Little S is the support.
Yeah.
I still like the Ice versus Ice games.
Yes.
Those are good fun. How many ices can you get in the second? Challenges for commentators all around. When we go into this game, draft-wise, you mentioned it at the very top of this segment. There could be cheese. So how do these two kind of lock that out of the equation, or do as much as they can to minimize it?
I think you have to not over-worry or analyze your opponents. It's kind of on your head because it's a best of one, but at the end of the day, you put together a draft that works for you. Make sure you secure your heroes, your lineup, and then with your bans, obviously, you could target some of those cheese heroes, like second stage bans on Alchemist, Naga, sure, but I think more than anything, you've just got to focus on yourselves, not overly concern yourselves with what might be coming from the opponent.
Yeah, you got to have your plan know what your plan is and just ban out the heroes that can mess with your plan, which normally also in this matchup, Monkey King or Spirit, we saw Dogfights have a mental or Spirit against EG, and they let it through both of the games, and EG lost both of the games. So that's one of those heroes that can really mess with you.
Dogfights, I think, is legitimately probably top 3 or Spirits in the world.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was going to ask you about,
good.
God said they have to focus on their own draft, but they could maybe ban out 1 or 2. What would they be banning? What would each team look at, do you think? I mean, does anyone play Meepo a lot? Not really.
No.
Yeah, so have you got any of those other cheesy heroes
I
that they
think
can get rid of?
Lifestealer is an important ban. I think it works for both lineups. I think, again, the Lifestealer that we keep seeing is that it's utilized to be able to just bully down these towers, and I think LFY would really benefit off of having a carry like that. Other than that, like 1-2 bans, I'm not really
Magnus,
particularly set or anything. Magnus, but
There's
nothing special.
No, I guess they've just got to be a little bit careful at 3-4.
Yeah, 3-4 bans. I think you have like a lot of things that
Yeah.
you could definitely be more pointed towards. Like maybe Juggernaut is all of a sudden a ban, even though most of the other teams you wouldn't be banning it. So,
what are you most looking forward to in this matchup?
Some heroes not getting banned. I think that's the one that because I think Monkey King and Air Spirit are both going to be banned.
Yeah.
But you know, there's a reason that these heroes keep popping up with these player names: Dogfights, Air Spirit, Monkey King for white. Either of those will be a lot of fun to watch. And them not having a hero like that, we saw Dogfights earlier on a Sand King, and he can't get that same momentum going. And it's just a shame.
We re-nicknamed him Sad King.
Yeah.
He's just kind of like, I got Sand King and didn't get anything else.
Yeah, it's just, I didn't hit my timings, and now I'm just burrow striking and dying when I get in. You want to have some heroes not banned, so we have fun games. Some heroes, I mean, Nagasai and Alchemist, ban those.
Okay.
That'll be fine.
Is that, well, quite. We're very happy with those. Is there anything, Gods, in here that you think, ooh, if one team gets this particular hero, that it would cause a lot of problems on the other side?
I don't think there's any like player hero combos that I would say like stand out massively. I think the Magnus is probably the big just tempo setter. I mean, I think so much of the game at the moment is decided around the mid game, and you're having like, I mean, you can't lose your lanes like that. But once you've shored up your lanes, having like a big mid game catch hero like a Magnus, the Slatter's been really popular for a 4 position. Well, I think these are the kind of key heroes that can really. It just enables the rest of your draft. When you have a Magnus, it makes so many carries that much stronger because you've got Empower. It makes even same for the mid laners. It can be played flexibly in the 3 position, the 4 position. To me, Magnus right now is still perhaps the best hero in Dota, or at least one of the best first picks because of this.
Yeah, I think there was.
And yet, where's it been today? 5 games in.
Banned every game.
Yeah.
Banned.
No one's letting it through.
I think it was like the Magnus, Ursa, and I think they had an Invoker or something like that. It was one of the last matches of the group stage, and I'm failing to remember what it was.
For which team?
It was NP versus
Liquid? That was
Newbie.
the tiebreaker?
No, it wasn't the tiebreaker.
The NP Newbie game.
I think it was the NP
Newbie
game.
2-0 and a Newbie.
Yeah. And Newbie had this Ursa and Magnus. And Peter said it in the draft. He was like, I think they're just going to like lose past 35 minutes because they have an Ursa. And I had the same thought. I was like, okay, that for me was like, that was my analysis for the game. That's the storyline that I'm operating on. And I'm just like, I realized about 25 minutes, I'm like, oh, it's really not that way. Like they actually scale much later into late game when you have this Magnus hero. It just changes. It just changes the game.
Okay, we're into the draft.
No, these teams have had 2 days to prepare for this.
That is true. Yeah, we haven't talked too much about the time off, and I know that a lot of the teams have been in their practice rooms, practicing Monkey King mostly, it seems.
Well, it's missing here, and so is Earth Spirit, so it really makes me wonder what these 2 teams have figured out.
Oh, God.
Maybe we'll get both.
I mean, all of a sudden, like, Juggernaut becomes like a way more value pickup, for example, because they have Magnus.
Yeah.
I don't. Gods, would you rather give them Magnus or Lifestealer first pick?
I mean, between those,
because that's what it came down to, didn't it?
Yeah,
you'd rather give them Lifestealer.
Well, Lifestealer is banned, so.
I like the Legion ban. There was actually like it was a bit of like something that the Chinese fans blamed Jizing for during the major.
So they're going to take it away from them.
But yeah, Jizing was like known was only for playing Legion command. At the major, it was like, oh, you banned his Legion. LGD Forever Young, they just straight up lost. Like he was getting flamed by the Chinese fans for it. It wasn't totally true. He did play other heroes, but Legion he played 10 times better than his next.
And there it is.
See, I much rather would have given them the Lifestealer because I feel like all of a sudden you forced yourself to pick Juggernaut because you didn't want LFY to have its second pick. And I do not feel good about forcing Juggernaut picks. It's just
love
not
Jug,
really good hero, but
I've seen them pick Jug so many times.
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's still one of those things like, is the hero really a first pick type hero? Magnus Monkey, or would you rather have Jugger or Spirit? Like,
I think IG Vitality
but Cap's
is pretty
right though,
happy
isn't
with
he?
their opening,
Cap's
though.
right, because they had a choice of banning the Lifestealer or the Magnus.
Yep.
And they banned the Lifestealer. They gave them
Yes,
this.
Paul, that's...
I would imagine that if you have 2 days to think about a best of 1, they knew that they were going to get the Juggernaut, or going to have to pick the Juggernaut in this case. So.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, they don't know for sure who's going to have what bans, and also like who's
Sure.
first pick, I guess.
Sure.
But they could, like, you go through those draft simulations. This is what we do if you're first pick. This is what we do if they are first pick.
I mean, I'm not too sad to see both our Spirit and Monkey. Hope they're going to live up to the hype that I've put out there, but we'll see.
Power Monkey King. That already sounds good in itself.
I mean, you got the
position.
You got the vision for the RP. Some
Okay,
vision.
so lineups that kind of work around the early Juggernaut pick. Like, I may not like it, but it does fit what IG Vitality kind of like to be able to run. Heroes that work around that. I think you still need an initiator.
Yep.
You get some sort of like SF, Dragon Knight, some sort of like hero that hits towers, essentially, for your mid.
You think the Jug's not going to be enough as far as a building hitter?
No, I think at least when I was thinking when they played Juggernaut, it was more about like they had this healing ward for someone else to be able to operate off of.
I guess LFY figured the same. They're taking away the Alp.
Yeah.
Leave it.
I think, again, some of these big team fight lamps having like an Alp type draft is always pretty good and reliable.
That's your initiator right there?
Yep. In July, one of his better heroes too.
Yeah, Angelite Batrider was really good.
And the Empire combo comes back.
Yeah.
Magnus PA.
The Empire combo that didn't really work.
No.
They kind of push in that direction with the Troll Ursa bans. The options for Empower were getting more and more limited. Don't know whether PA is really the best bet. It doesn't do anything. Not good against Omni Slash.
Well, we said earlier, game 2 of Empire's match, we haven't really seen an awful lot of successful PA this tournament. Keeps getting picked, but
I think
doesn't
the
seem to
only
have been very
successful
effective.
ones that we've seen is from Empire, still during the group stages, but not today, unfortunately.
I think it's because, like, on this main stage, it's not a natural pickup, right? It's being forced into situations where you don't really like it. It was forced in that last situation, in my opinion, with Empire, and now here with LFY.
And being played in the groups by Empire, that's a PA specialist as well, so...
IG.V, I think, are massively outdrafting this. They pick up Batrider and Warlock, both heroes that are just going to destroy any melee heroes that you're picking up because you're forced into this Magnus pickup. Man.
And they're signature heroes, too.
Where if we go by what IG did, you pick like a silencer in response, so you can initiate and then global silence instantly.
But then you're stuck with a silencer.
I don't think that's terrible.
Okay. You've got silencer. You're stuck with a silencer. Say it with a positive. You're welcome for positivity and
You're
joy.
stuck with a silencer. Yay! All right, that still didn't go.
So she was just like, I'm here for the blood and tears.
I mean, at the moment, I see blood and tears from the side of LGD Forever Young mostly. But, I mean, they still have 2 picks to fix it, so they can.
Got a save. Now you have an answer to the Batrider initiation.
They really needed that.
Yeah, it felt like a necessary component. I think it's most of the PA pick I'm not a big fan of for LFY. I think like the opening 2 picks I preferred their draft and developed with the Bat Warlock, as Cap kind of said. It gave IG.V a really good setup.
What can you think of a better melee carry for them? Because I couldn't really think of one, considering everything that was banned out.
I think you can still get I think it's this mindset you don't have to get a melee carry with with Magnus. I mean, you should, but if there's none available, maybe you just don't.
Give yourself a Dusa.
Yep.
Who was that? Like NP?
NP did well.
That did not go well.
Dusa Magnus is
that was the
good,
GG
though.
after 23 minutes.
All right, so what are we looking for the last one? IG Vitality. I think Sakata still needs a hero. His OD is still in the pool if we're talking about more signature heroes.
Super needs a hero for LFY.
Yep. And the last pick will go to IG Vitality. So they got that up as well.
Yeah.
I kind of like either Invoker or SF for IG.V. Invoker would give you better late game potential. SF is an earlier MKB hero.
What do you like for Super on the side of LGD Forever Young?
I'm a fan of his Ember. I think he's had some really good Ember games.
It's gone.
Okay.
Has he ever run? I was about to say, has he ever run mid PA? Because this could just be mid PA.
It will be indeed mid PA. The safe lane Void. I mean, they get more team fight with that, but then where's the synergy?
Empower Void. That's the idea here.
But that's the only synergy.
No. Cheever, the only synergy you need is with Monkey King. True. That hero that is dumb ultimate. That's all the power you need.
I keep thinking it's fixed into not being able to hit during his ultimate.
He can literally screw around. He could literally just screw over PA and Magnus, 2 of his cores, but it doesn't matter as long as the 4th position Monkey King gets his ultimate off.
Well,
how silly.
We do get
good call.
We do get OD. Yep, that was.
Oh, sorry.
Nice.
Jesus
Christ. OD gets even better now with the Void. You can astral people who are caught in the Chrono. You're against 3 melee cores, 4 really if you count the Monkey King. This is, I think the draft ended in a pretty good spot for IG.V here.
All right, let's go down the line, do some predictions for the series and for the game. Cap?
IG.V.
Both? Game
yes.
and series?
It's
Sorry.
just a one.
Yes.
What?
I'm just being efficient, Paul. IG.V. That's all I need to say.
Why is it both game series? It's one game series.
I know. He didn't. You did. He didn't. He's still thinking what's going on.
IG.V for me as well.
Okay.
What we do? I think LFY have a shot on this one.
You don't have to do the whole, let's make it interesting thing. We can stay on the IG train if you want.
If we would all go for IG.V, I feel like the draft is not that one-sided.
Yeah.
So in a way,
there's a bit of something on it in both drafts here, isn't there?
I think IG.V have always struggled at LAN events. They're playing on the main stage, and I like their draft. I like both drafts. I think the draft with the Magnus Void PA works. So I'm going to go with LFY then.
All right. Okay. 1 for LFY, 2 for Vitality. Let's find out what Chinese team wins our opening lower bracket match as we head downstairs to our commentary team.
Thank you very much, Paul. Well, Peter, we are here. We're going to be taking a look at the game IG.V versus the lovely LFY. The panel was a little bit split as to which way they thought it was going to go. Are you excited for the match? Are you feeling one team in particular? What's going on with you?
I kind of like both the drafts. I think that IG.V is like a little bit more standard, kind of what we've been seeing throughout most of the tournament. And then I think the Void pick from LFY is like super interesting. And I kind of think maybe it could be the X factor. It could give them the advantage they need in these team fights to really kind of give themselves an opportunity to win this best of 1.
Well, here we are right into this game. Gotta be said, I am super excited for this. All China affair. We're in China. We're taking a look at this game right now. Sakata's on his OD. We got a faceless Void there. I was a little bit concerned going into the draft and looking at the final results of it that the faceless Void pick last might leave them with a little bit of lacking damage. Do you think that that could be a problem, or how do you think they're going to do?
So I think that obviously Void with other melee heroes doesn't really work. I think that Vengeance is going to boost up the damage of the Void. I think that the Monkey King is also going to be able to do some damage. But what the Void in the Chronosphere is really going to do for them is give them some team fight and allow them to really set up in these team fights. If they can pick off, just one of these big team fight heroes, whether it's Earth Spirit or Warlock, or maybe even get OD inside the Chronosphere and kill him before he starts astraling people, I think that will give them the advantage they need to really kind of win the team fight. Because if they don't pick somebody off at the very beginning, I think they're going to have a lot of troubles. Bat Rider's going to initiate, and then Earth Spirit and Warlock are going to dump all their damage onto LFY, and I think the team fights are going to be over before LFY could even get started.
All right, we'll have to watch out for that one, certainly. IG.V making a little bit of an aggressive maneuver here, contesting the rune. They do have this ward up on the high ground, which spotted out the PA, and well, that will mean that LFY has to back out, and should be a quick couple of easy runes there for IG.V as well.
Yeah, these wards are actually pretty common. A lot of teams will smoke initially at the very beginning of the game and then TP to a lane and place ones that way you can see the enemy's kind of bounty rune. And as soon as you see kind of the enemies kind of congregate around that rune, you can really assess what you need to do. They see LFY only really has 1 hero there, and there's no one really attacking their side of the jungle. So at about 20 seconds, they start crossing the river and heading towards that bounty rune. And if nobody reacts, they get 3 bounty runes.
Easy peasy for them, indeed. IG.V off to a bit of a start there. So the PA matchup versus the OD, kind of a little bit of an interesting one. Stifling Daggers getting thrown out constantly, but likewise, do you expect that Sakata's just going to be able to have a pretty decent time in this laning stage?
I think it's pretty OD favored. PA has some nice tools to be able to get some CS, with Dagger and auto attacking at the same time, which is nice. But overall, OD does particularly well against melees in most matchups.
Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, just seeing having a little bit of trouble with dogfights, going to get zoned out slightly there. Always a bit of an issue for him, and actually kind of getting wrapped around upon here. They're going to throw Shadow Word, yeah.
Warlock is a very good hero at zoning out. He's one of these heroes who doesn't have a lot of catch and a lot of gank throughout the game, but what he does do is offer you a very strong lane, and he offers you a ton of team fight.
All right. Well, Sakata, as you mentioned, having a decent time here, 4-4 in the mid. We haven't taken a huge look up at the top lane, but Batrider, this is a hero that Injali has played so many times. When I think of Invictus Gaming Vitality, it's always with a Batrider. They try and run down lanes, you know, take objectives and constantly threaten that push. But meanwhile, Skewer back under tower, a couple of body blocks as well, and just being able to get a bit of damage in there. Contesting the lane pretty well and getting a decent time for himself.
Yeah, they're doing a nice job of zoning him out. They're keeping lane control, which is super important. And this Magnus, he actually went for PMS instead of the Iron Talon, so he's pretty committed to trying to get some sort of experience out of the off lane.
Now, can't really head off into the jungle with just a PMS, unfortunately.
Might have to.
Yeah. Thankfully, he can just pick up the bounty runes, head back in, get a salve for himself, and go about his day. So, early laning stage, Monkey King hasn't really accomplished that much, I would say. Same with Earth Spirit to a large extent. Do you think that these are heroes that kind of have to get something done early on, or is soaking up experience here for White just okay?
Monkey King is actually really good at doing this because he just kind of hops on the trees. You can't really see him, and he just kind of collects experience. Although I guess Batrider, when he's fire flying, he can actually see the Monkey King on the trees. So he can kind of kill the creeps possibly away from Monkey King so they don't share experience like he's doing now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, meanwhile, mid lane, they're setting up with the Earth Spirit here, although this, I do believe, is being scouted out the entire time by the wards. So dogfights, unlikely to find any great opportunity to open up here onto Super, I would imagine.
Yeah, not a lot of opportunities for kills on really any lane. Monkey King has a pretty hard time ganking a hero like OD just because of how naturally tanky he is and his ability to astral and kind of walk away. Batrider, I think, is like the most susceptible kill for Dire, but that's if he like comes to lane or if he gets really low doing neutral creeps, which I'm not sure that Injali is going to give them that kind of opportunity.
So this is kind of an interesting thing because you see over here to the side, Jisung still getting a lot out of the laning phase, but it feels like Batrider is going to be getting more gold out of it, CSing a little bit better by taking out those jungle creeps. Is this something they need to be concerned about at all, or do you think Mag is perfectly content with the way his lane is going?
No, Mag is not content.
He's not content.
He's not having a nice time. He would love to be in pretty much any other circumstance than he is now. He's managed to get level 2 with the help of the bounty rune and a little bit of experience in lane. He's picked up a quelling blade now, and he's going to go to the jungle with the PMS. So he'll start catching back up. He does farm a little bit faster, and he farms throughout the entire game, whereas Batrider kind of slows down farming depending on the build and depending how the game goes.
Oh, interesting little scenario here. White is up on the high ground, going to jump onto dogfights, trying to slow him down and get within range to block off that rolling boulder. White doesn't quite get it, but they still manage to interrupt. So there's the jump forward, Skewer as well, and First Blood going to go to Super.
That was a cool blink strike. It was pretty nice execution to time that with that roll and hop in front of him.
Oh, very well done indeed. So quick level 2 there, they're able to interrupt and mess a little bit more with the mag. And, well, it was already a little bit painful before, now it's going to be even more so. Oh, and they broke his salve to it. I mean, he was already at full HP, but trying to pressure Ginseng very heavily here. He needs to be really careful. They're still going to be chasing in on this. Dogfights has shown up. They're going to skewer under the tier 2 tower. And that does keep him alive. Well, Super just going to back out to the trees.
Tier 2 towers are no joke.
This is so much pressure on the early stage. They even forced the rotation from the Venge.
Yeah, it's not a big deal though, because Void's kind of in the lane all by himself. Batrider's kind of moved up here now, but I think it's Void's to a point where he can do relatively well by himself.
All right. Doing the taunt as well. It's worth noting these teams know each other really well. There has been, within the past month, 3 separate qualifiers they played off against each other, and they keep on splitting the series as well. In terms of like rivalries or anything like that, do you play any different when you're playing against a team that you know really well?
I don't know. Maybe they have some like experience in scrimming against each other, but they were in separate groups, and I think that the meta for almost every single team changed quite a bit throughout the group stage. So I think that they're all kind of looking at each other with a fresh perspective on how to play the game.
All right, well, fair enough. So Super still constantly being thrown that Astral, and you compare the CS at this point, 31-11 to the 22-3. It's definitely feeling much OD favored. This is something we always knew was going to happen. Do you think that Super would be too concerned about this at all, as we do have a roll in, but Monet will just get out?
I think the lane was going to go OD's way anyways. PA was able to secure the First Blood, which is something for him and his teammates that OD didn't do. So Oh, all right. I almost thought that was a courier for a little bit. I thought we were just watching the courier. No, it's just Dota 2.
Yeah. Do you like the courier movement with Monkey King?
Honestly, it's cute, but I'm not a big fan of the whole transform into random things.
Absolutely. Well, Super made the rotation with the DD. Wasn't able to find anything with Monkey King trying to get that initiation off. And
yeah, when he's like, he's kind of lost this lane. He's only 200 gold behind OD, so it's not a huge deal, a couple CS, but it's really nice if you can leave that lane and kind of break. If you're losing your lanes in a game, it's very important that you break down the laning phase and kind of end the laning phase as soon as possible, so you could start, a different phase of the game where maybe you have a better opportunities to collect farm.
And I guess that's sort of when you get this level 6s online. We've seen a lot of aggressive rotation from carries into lanes, and Void obviously has a very strong level 6, but with the Chronosphere, are they capable of finding a kill if he makes that rotation, or does he just keep on farming away in your eyes?
I think you definitely want to try and use your Chronosphere on, really anyone that comes to lane. You could possibly use it to maybe secure a lot of damage on the top tower. Killing Batrider is definitely a good move, as he's actually really farmed.
Oh my goodness, yeah, this done so well in the jungle and takes out a double or triple stack right there as well from the hard camp. So Batrider having a hell of a game so far, almost ahead of the PA, in fact.
Yeah, he's farmed a couple stacks, and I think his teammates have been helping him stack a couple camps as well.
Has a few more too. The early Blink Dagger, we haven't always seen this. There's been sometimes like the drums build up and things like that we've seen instead, where Batriders can kind of dominate the lane in that fashion. Do you think in this one you just go straight for the Blink no matter what, find yourself kills around the map?
It's up to how you think the game's going to go. I think that in a game like this, there's actually a lot of opportunities for him to collect kills, and it might be potentially one of their only opportunities to collect kills in this early to mid game, because there isn't a lot of other initiation from IG.V. There's Earth Spirit who can kind of roll in, or I guess OD could Astral, but if they really want to start a fight and allow Warlock and Earth Spirit to really line up their spells and tee off on their opponents, that Blink Lasso is what's going to be able to do it for them.
And I mean, you look at this too, they don't necessarily find a ton of kills, but Paparazzi can play so aggressively here. He's up by the tier 2 tower and does not feel afraid at all of anything. Yeah,
and a little bit later in the game that we'll start seeing him being a little more scared. They actually have, not only do they have RP, but they also have Chronosphere, and they have Avenge Swap as well to kind of some BKB piercing.
Right. Quick kill up there on the top lane. Chronosphere was used, and they're able to make a little bit of a push go now onto the tier 1 tower. There are some rotations coming in. Batrider is here, as well as the Earth Spirit starting to move in this direction as well. Still a little ways away, but
they got a little tower damage, not a lot. I would have liked to see them. I'm sure they would have hoped to get a little more, but using the Chronosphere early is totally fine. I don't think there's going to be any big team fights until a lot of these level 6s come online, along with a Blink Dagger onto Magnus and the Blink Dagger onto Batrider.
PA does have the Haster and Bottled. If there's an opportunity there, maybe you make that rotation, but as for now, they do need to be at least somewhat cognizant of the timing of this Batrider Blink Dagger. They know that he got a lot of farm in lane and that this could come out pretty quickly here.
I think the Batrider is actually, the way this game is going, he is going to be the hero that can connect everything for IG.V. It's, LFY has a pretty decent amount of team fight, but they need the vision to see these Warlock and Earth Spirit, so that way they can win these team fights. If they try to initiate fights without kind of finding Warlock or Earth Spirit, these fights are not going to go their way. What just happened?
They found the Monkey King, and they are going to be able to catch him. So spotted out up on the high ground. They managed to get it. Good placement of the ward there.
What happened to the tree? Did he eat it himself?
Not exactly sure. He did have tangos.
I think he ate his own tree, and it stunned him.
New meta. Well, Monet, he's feeling good about the situation. They've still stuck up there with Paparazzi. Maybe it was all a bait, an elaborate ploy, but the stun on it too. Battle Fury goes through. They're not able to quite find the kill. LFY doing it, but they dropped the golem up on the high ground as well. Now swap on another. LPC is stuck up here. What has transpired over the past couple of minutes? It can't be good. Another skewer forward, catching in July. He's so close to his Blink Dagger, needs to buy it, but
that was ridiculous. What just happened? There's like 3 people on the cliff, and then a rock golem got dropped on him.
Okay.
I mean, I bet he wishes he had his golem to farm the jungle creeps, but not a bad first ultimate for Warlock.
Yeah, not bad at all. You can see the replay right now.
King of the hill. The Warlock golem has won.
Everybody just jumps up on the cliff. Paparazzi almost kills him. That was a great play by Dogfights, too, to get up there and get the counter stun. So after that kerfuffle that we had up on the cliff, how are you feeling about this game? Who's
This is an entertaining game of Dota. I like how it started.
Okay.
It was a little slow, but we had a little extra flavor right there.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly shaping up to be a good one. The Blink Dagger, I believe, is there for in July. It does look like he's picked it up. Where do you feel like that first rotation is now that he's already used Flaming Lasso once, but where do you see him going to try and find a kill now?
Best opportunity is to probably wait for Juggernaut's Omni Slash and make a smoke gank play on the mid lane and secure that mid tower. Taking mid tower is the most important tower for Radiant, and it really opens up the Dire jungle.
Well, okay, and the Magnus and Power shenanigans are sure to start as well. Sakata is...
They should be careful about making a play with this Batrider when they don't have their ultimates. Like, they're not going to have Warlock ultimate for sure. The Omni Slash is just now coming up, so if they can secure a kill with those 2 ultimates, it could lead to a nice little tower push for them.
Yeah, Paparazzi maybe going to bait down here in the top lane. There's the smoke behind him. This is the extended bait. They're probably going to be behind here for a while they push in with the lane for Juggernaut.
Interesting, they're going for the top tower. This tower is probably the least important tower, but they've already gotten the bottom tier 1 tower, so they just feel like if there's potential for them to take a team fight here, they'll definitely win, which I would agree. But LFY, kind of noticing that something's up, not seeing anybody really on the lanes, is going to back off and farm elsewhere.
You can see Faceless Void there going for the Shadow build. Again, we've talked a lot about damage. And
it's the Shadow build.
The Lincoln's first?
Oh, is that Shadow gets credit for that?
Who would you give credit to?
I always thought it was No Tail.
Okay, maybe it's a No Tail build.
I'm sure it's both. I mean, Shadow won TI. It's his build. He can claim it if he wants.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah, history is written by the winners, right?
That's true. True enough. Well, so what history are you going to write?
My time has passed.
All right, fair enough. Monet, his time has passed to sit in the mid lane as well as In July was up there. They do not want to try and press the issue with the Batrider off the map. And now also having Chaotic offering up, they're going to be able to get the D ward onto that OBS that was placed down. It feels like both of these teams just have a good understanding of what each other are doing.
Well, we've seen these Monkey Kings kind of jump through these trees and try and place these deep wards, and I think they caught a glimpse of the Monkey King in that situation, and they were like, oh, what's he doing back here? Definitely warding.
No.
Smart play by them.
So the tier 1 tower top goes down without incident. It does look like there's still pressure along the top line. Sakata seeing if anybody's in the area. He's picked up an early Midas as well. I feel like this is what we always see out of ODs from now on, as a chase forward for Jin Sing, able to catch on to him. Flaming Lasso pulling back, and this is, I assume, pretty close to his Blink Dagger. He was 1,700 gold by the end of it. Unfortunate timing.
Pretty close.
So a successful movement and gank by IG.V. It feels like even though LFY got those first couple of kills, Invictus Gaming are hitting a really nice timing here and making things happen before that blink comes up with the Magnus.
I think they're going to lose out a little bit until they get that Blink Dagger on Magnus and Void becomes strong enough and PA becomes strong enough for them to fight. So as long as they can not bleed too much, I think they're in an okay situation.
Fair enough.
I think their lineup scale is much better into the late game. We'll start seeing the farm pick up between Magnus and with Magnus, Void, and PA, and then Venge in the late game is going to really boost them and take them over the top in terms of damage.
So then in your eyes, do you feel like IG.V have to really keep the pressure on now and try and make a lot happen in the early game?
I think forcing the issue and taking towers with Lasso before LFY is strong enough is definitely the right play.
They spotted In July there. Monkey King keeping eyes on him. Batrider's still in the area, but everybody very grouped up.
See, right now they definitely don't have damage for Chronosphere, unless PA gets like a dagger crit or something. So this team fight is probably going to go IG favored. They can even back off and wait for the next healing ward if they want to.
It's kind of a long time, but definitely could make the difference.
Yeah, it's definitely a huge deal. It's really easy to micro, especially against all these melee heroes. You can kind of really keep it away from your opponents. So it's a really, really strong tool for them to have in the team fight.
Regen rune in the bottom. It does look like Super will bottle that, being ready to reinitiate at a moment's notice if they need to, but it does look like they are just going to give up that tier 1 tower. So at this point, all of the tier 1 towers across the lanes are going to be down. And In July, keeping the pressure on, scouting out to see what's in the area. He will spot the Monkey King.
Yeah, IG.V definitely making the right plays, taking these towers early when they have this kind of advantage in terms of team fight and initiation is super important for them.
And looking at the Magnus and his Blink Dagger timing, does look to be coming out on the Courier right now. Not the Courier behind him, that's a Monkey King, but will be there. And does this for you open up their ability to take these fights more? So
we'll see what IG.V thinks, because they got to think this Blink Dagger is coming at some point. They need to be ready for it, and it looks like they are going to force the issue regardless of that Blink Dagger being present.
All right, getting set up. Monkey King spotting people out. There's the RP used onto one. They end up getting the counter initiation, though. It's a huge one coming out. The Golem, as well as Say's Eclipse. LPC and Jinsing in a ton of trouble. Super is going to drop down low as well. Does look to die inside of that. Well, catch. Yeah, he's going to be dead. Sakata with the triple kill. They are just rolling over him right now. IG.V know their timing and hit it well.
That was not the team fight that they were looking for. RP onto the Juggernaut, who was already spinning. Void jumped in, kind of panicked. He was like, oh, I want to get more than this Juggernaut and this Chronosphere. And Injuly on the Batrider just snagged him up, and they put him down before his ultimate came out.
Well, it's not looking great for LFY in this best of one.
That was a huge deciding fight. They have got to be feeling bads, man, right now.
Oh, no. And I'm thinking as well, like in these best of one scenarios, when you start to get behind like this, is it even more pressure? Do you feel it more so than you would have if it was a best of three?
There's always the possibility when you go into these best of ones that things aren't going to go your way, and players understand that that's kind of the way Dota is. You know, sometimes bad stuff happens and you lose games. It's unfortunate that it has to be in this kind of a setting, but it is inevitable. And when you have a team fight like this where you're like, okay, we got our Blink Dagger at Magnus, we're ready to fight, let's win this fight, and it goes this badly, it's just kind of like, oh, our impending loss is on its way.
Oh, look at IG.V. They're getting hyped up right there in the booth. They know what's coming. They want to move on to that next round.
And they are very well poised to do so at this point, I believe.
Taking a look at the sort of difference in net worths as well and experience, you can see that 7,500 gold lead at this point and experience right around 4,000. That being said, you do have a great combination of team fight from LFY. Is it something where IG.V need to sort of play their cards right here? Can you get another big initiation off that works this time around?
It's very, very difficult for LFY to initiate fights. They don't really have kind of, you know, their initiation is an RP or a Chronosphere, and as long as LFY is split up and separated and, you know, Warlock is behind to counter initiate or OD is behind to Astral, whoever gets targeted, it's very difficult for LFY to find a fight. If they had some sort of a vision hero who could kind of like find these supports or find the Batrider or something, then they would have a better opportunity to land their big team fight ultimates. But right now they're just kind of going in blind, and they kind of just have to blindly blink in and hope for the best, and that's what happened for Void. He jumped in on the mid-fight, and there just really wasn't a great opportunity for him to Chronosphere. Sure, in hindsight, he should have Chronosphered the Jug solo. It was really the best play for him at the moment, but he felt like he needed to do more to win that team fight, and he was probably right.
Yeah. Well, and there's the Batrider initiation comes out. They get the silence off. Oh, great play. Now they're going to be able to turn this back around. Say's Eclipse as well. No Chronosphere used again. IG.V are looking quite strong as they're going to be able to chase down LPC here. There's still the chance for a counterplay by Jinsing, but they're just going to call off the charge. LPC goes down. LFY in a ton of trouble.
This poor Void, man. I feel bad for him. You see him blink, you see him jump in, and he's like, guys, I want a Chronosphere, someone, anyone, please. And they don't give him any opportunities to. And even if they did, his teammates can't follow up because they're just kind of all melee and they're not farmed enough for him to really do anything inside the Chronosphere.
It's quite a rough go.
These Magnus like first pick lineups need to be super careful because we saw that they picked Batrider, they picked Earth Spirit, they picked Warlock, and they picked OD to like help winning the laning phase. And all these heroes are so good against melee heroes. And when you pick Magnus, it kind of clues in your enemy that, hey, we're going to pick a bunch of melee heroes.
Wow. And it felt even as if like LFI was trying to bait this out, as if they were trying to make the play where they were smoked up right behind the PA. But that Batrider just causes so many issues for him.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you know, Void, the lasso comes out, Void jumps in, tries to save him. What's he gonna, you know, best case scenario, he like chronos the Batrider and PA gets chronoed or something. So there's a very delicate balance, and he's trying to make the perfect Chronosphere, and because he's trying to do so, he's actually not even getting Chronosphere off. So yeah, I'd like to see him just throw out the bubble and see what happens.
I mean, that's a dangerous game too, right?
Well, it's a much better chance at success than what's happening right now.
That's fair enough. So IG.V moving in to take down Roshan. They have got a great lineup for taking high ground, but likewise, LFY have things to at least put a little bit of fear into the heart of IG.V. Granted, as you said, there's all those defensive mechanisms, but I guess something you can hang your hat on. You take your first tier 1 tower in the bottom lane for LFY.
It's a small victory.
Okay.
You give up Roshan, but honestly, you had no business in defending Roshan anyways, so you take what you can get.
Juggernaut has that Manta style completed for himself as well. It's just ready for every damn thing that LFY can throw their way. So let's say that Invictus Gaming potentially get a little bit overconfident. You hit LFY with a really big RP into a chronosphere, everybody dies, you know, it's a disaster moment, one of those types of things happens. How many of those do they need to get back into this? Is it just one?
Yeah, just one. I mean, if they get like a 5-0 wipe, I think one is enough to really kind of give them an opportunity to win this game. That being said, I think it's very unlikely that that is going to happen. I think that potentially IG.V is going to line up to push this tier 2 bottom right now, and if LFY can possibly set up a ward or maybe smoke behind and wrap on them, they have an opportunity to take a team fight with a lot better chances. The issue right now is they're trying to take these team fights with no vision, but they're not really setting themselves up to do so. I think that they might have the idea just to defend their high ground, but even then, like, unless they wrap on the enemy, it's, you know, if they can get on these backline supports, if they can't do that, these fights are not going to go their way.
So you almost need to have the vision down preemptively before they're there.
Yeah, they could have put, you know, a ward on one of these hills on the right side of the map near that tier 2 and potentially, you know, found their enemies as they're hitting the tower. But they're playing very confidently, leaving Juggernaut to hit the tier 2 tower bottom as they smoke kind of across the map, abusing LFY, or trying to find LFY, who's trying to split up the map and split push in the meantime.
Yeah. And Jug will just TP back up here to the top lane. Tier 1 tower took a good amount of damage, but will not fall in the end. A scan comes out from the Radiant, not going to hit either.
Yeah, they were really set on trying to find a fight there. I'm surprised they didn't stick around just trying to get that tier 2 bottom. I feel like they, you know, lined everything up for that. But now they're top. They're just kind of pushing this lane. I'm not sure where they're going to go from here.
Well, it does look like it's a Blink Dagger on the Courier right now. And is that one for the Void, or?
The longer IG.V takes to go high ground, the better for LFY.
Well, we also have this Blink Dagger up for the Void, so we already have Empower to solve some of the damage issues. Do you like this item pickup?
Yeah, he needs something to really, you know, we see those little time blocks. They're very short range now, so it's not enough for him to really get into the fight or find that opportune Chronosphere. So hopefully now he'll be able to have like a long distance initiation and get the Chronosphere that he, you know, has been desperately searching for.
Likewise, OD is going to have a Blink Dagger as well as the Hurricane Pike now. So,
and you can bet he's going to be way out of the fight, and they're just going to watch the Juggernaut hit that tower.
That is so frustrating to play against, I'm sure. And the other thing, too, that's so great about this lineup for IG.V is that Bat Rider allows them to take high ground so much more effectively than they would have otherwise, because you can threaten the Juggernaut on the high ground, and then if anybody moves in, it's a quick jump and then pull them back, whoever it happens to be.
They do have Venge, so Venge is around and is quick enough to react. They can save someone from the lasso, but oftentimes Vengeful Spirits have a much harder time pulling off that play when the Force Staff is online for the Bat Rider, and you know, he is very farmed and he does have that.
Take a look at this kill participation, relatively the same, everything looking sort of similar. The big difference is just that net worth and experience. And hero damage as well, actually. It's most of the factors that determine who's going to win the game. IG Vitality are ahead. So currently building next towards a Shiva's Guard for Bat Rider. He's also been able to finish off a Gem of True Sight for his team. Can start to further reduce that map presence for LFY, although there are a couple of deep wards that haven't been scouted as of yet by LFY that should at least give them some understanding of where IG.V are on the map.
Injuly is one of the, Bat Rider is one of his best heroes for sure. I've watched him play it for so many years. But I have seen a lot of Bat Riders kind of fall off in the late game of these tournaments, and they do kind of have an underwhelming kind of impact in team fights, especially once enough items come online to really counter them. Venge, gets level 12 and has a level 2 ultimate. So things could change for Batrider's fortune. We'll have to see how he handles himself in the later stages of this game.
Well, and that's something to consider. You mentioned if they take too long, if IG.V don't put the nail in the coffin, don't finish off LFY, that things start to become a problem. What's the item pickups? Is it just that level 2 on Venge, or what are you feeling?
That's part of it, but we're also we're having more damage and more utility come out from the Magnus. It looks like he's going for a Shadow Blade, so he could really kind of get a little bit farther into the fight for his RP. You know, that way he doesn't have to walk through a Juggernaut. He can kind of Shadow Blade up to the Juggernaut and then blink to the back lines and possibly find that OD. Okay. Or the Warlock or the Earth Spirit, whoever's kind enough to be in his vision. And just any kind of damage items for PA, whether it's he has his BKB now, so he's looking for a Basher. And the more damage items, the better. And they're not really too behind on farm because of the Empower. And here we go.
Yeah, looking forward. Oh,
swing and a miss.
You wanted to throw it out there. You said you wanted it in. PA actually walks into it as well. Oh, Lordy, that was not the fight.
Abort. Boys,
get out.
We're gonna go back to the base and regroup.
Oh no, but I think that they might not let him do it. They dropped the Monkey King ulti to try and create that little bit of separation, and now Monet trying to run away. They've actually turned. RP is going to use solo, but it does take down that OD.
All right. Yeah, take that fight near the shrine. I like that. Smart.
All right, second engagement now. They come in onto Super. They're still all Fatal Bond up, so do need to be a little bit careful, but they're pulling it together. Take down the Warlock, take down the OD.
A perfectly executed team fight from LFY.
It was all planned, yeah? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I don't know if it was all planned, but there was some Dota that happened, and they came out on top. I'm sure they're happy about it.
All right.
First Chronosphere, or second Chronosphere of the game. She's didn't get a kill this time, but 1 for 2 on the Chronospheres, not bad.
Well, that's got to give you a ton more confidence here. You get a solo RP, a Chronosphere that hits nothing, and somehow they still manage to win the fight.
Oh, we might have a buyback here from Modi. Looks like they want to fight.
Thinking about going for it. Flame break. Paparazzi is still Shadow Bladed. And it looks like LFY going to make the clean escape.
So they take their second tower now. A bit more gold for the entire team, a little bit more map control. They're starting to find some serious farm in their cores. That fight was huge for them.
I mean, this is starting to feel like the beginnings of a comeback, certainly. You take a look, it's still 10,000 net worth lead.
It's something. They're still very behind. Their cores are pretty farmed, but their supports are definitely lacking. I think. Well, I mean, they have their BKB now in PA, so they're a lot stronger. They just need to continue to build up items and keep farming. And if IG.V is threatening to them to the point where they can't farm anymore, that's when they need to fight.
Okay. Well, it's interesting, too, because, looking at the way that these fights have gone a little bit for IG.V, Earth Spirit Dogfights has just been having a fabulous time, constantly getting those silences off in clutch moments. He broke the smoke there to start the full initiation off as well.
The panel talked about Dogfights being one of the best Earth Spirits. Yeah. But, I mean, he is, for sure. But it's also very, very easy to play Earth Spirit against melee heroes.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Earth Spirit looks very good against melee heroes. So this is a great game for him to really shine. It's a great game for IG.V to go ahead and pick up that Earth Spirit for him.
So in your eyes, how do IG.V try and close this out? Because it still feels as if it's sort of in a position where they can close it out in the next couple of minutes. Am I wrong? Am I reading that incorrectly?
It's tough. It is really tough for them to go high ground. Now that we have the RP online, the Chronospheres with the Blink Dagger have a lot more utility. It's tough to go high ground. I think that they're probably going to need an Aegis on Juggernaut. Juggernaut's, I think, a little too susceptible to dying at this point inside Chronosphere if he tries to go high ground. And Juggernaut's really their only building hitter, so they're pretty dependent on him being able to smack the tower.
Right. Oh, and we've just seen how quickly, in the blink of an eye, a PA jumps in and melts this IG.V lineup. But
OD kind of farming up, getting a blink and a hex and a BKB is or maybe not BKB, but a hex. After this Shiva's might be an opportunity for them to really take and win a team fight. And if he can blink in and find the Magnus or the Void or someone and hex them up and burst them before they're able to get off their big ultimates.
Okay. And maybe eventually thinking about an answer for Super as well, either via the Bloodthorn or possibly, I guess, the Juggernaut going for the Silver Edge is going to be that answer that they're looking for as well.
It's a nice way to kill PA. Don't know if the item helps them that much.
And I guess with BKB online, it also makes it a little bit more difficult.
That's true as well. I mean, it's a nice damage item overall. We've seen some Juggernauts, especially the Chinese Juggernauts, really go for that Shadow Blade build on Juggernaut, but we'll see how it works out. I don't think it's been particularly useful just yet.
Yeah. Well, and you take a look at the relative net worth. Juggernaut's still sitting at 18,000 for himself. He's building towards that. Scotty now. Paparazzi does just feel like a monster.
He doesn't do that much damage.
No?
No, I don't think so. I don't know if Scotty is necessarily the build. Sure, maybe he'll live through these big team fight ultimates, but LFY has so much damage as we go to the late game.
Okay.
With Empower, Venge Auras, PA crits, Monkey King ultimates, there's a lot of damage. And Juggernaut, I think he's just going to die in these ultimates.
So in your eyes, what is it then? Was it an MKB or something to keep him more survivable?
I think it's more about them being able to initiate the fight and pick somebody off. So like a Blink Abyssal could have been a great option for him.
I guess we'll have to see how it works out in these fights, but
yeah, we'll see. It's just this like Shadow Blade build doesn't really do a lot for him in team fights, and I think that's where they're going to start to struggle now that LFY is kind of coming online.
I saw there that Roche cam come up. This is now a much less easy Roche fight for IG.V than it would have been previously. The Scotty is done.
Gotta be careful about fighting near that shrine.
God, the invis. I believe that LFY do have detection, but looks like they're going to mosey on up to the top lane, see if they can catch somebody, but we'll not be able to get it.
Only a dust and some sentries on Venge.
Okay.
So no gem for them quite yet. Might be a nice pickup for them to think about next.
Or just kill the Bat Rider, take his.
Easier said than done, but definitely an option.
All right.
Probably the preferred option.
Well, we've had
stalemate.
Yeah, and this is a situation where I feel like IG.V would be the ones that are a little bit at the advantage because of that vision that they gained by virtue of Bat Rider and also having the gem, but we still see a lot of wards on the map for LFY.
IG.V does not do Roshan very quickly, so they're definitely looking to team fight, and LFY would be fools to walk into that pit versus Warlock Earth Spirit.
Well, the wraparound is coming. The smoke movement, Bat Rider in July leading the charge. They're going the long wraparound.
Fight near the shrine. If you don't know where your enemies are, get near your shrine and stand on the high ground.
All right, they're going, moving in. White is going to be the first one that they find. Pull him back in. A quick jump, but they're able to swap him out. Still, LPC gets the stun off. Dogfights. One gets the magnetized on one. The Chronosphere able to connect and control up that OD. They drop the rock on top of him as well, but immediately going to be able to go inside that Astral Imprisonment, saving himself alive as well. Omni Slash comes out. Is it going to be enough damage? The Sanity's Eclipse is a ton of damage. Super turned upon now as well. Needs to get the heck out of dodge, but Dogfight still chasing, still trying to find him. We'll have another stun to follow it up as he comes out of the BKB. Not going to connect with the flame break, pushing him back down to the low ground. They caught a hold of him and they take him down. 4 dead for LFY. IG.V again, the ones coming out on top.
Yeah, poor positioning from LFY. They were a little bit confused about where their enemy was, and I think that they did make a big mistake by not getting to that shrine, or at least backing up into their high ground. Like they were just kind of standing idle, kind of trying to figure out what was going on with the game. And when there's so much on the line like this, you got to play a little tighter than that.
And it felt like they were starting to make that comeback too, but as you said, it all comes down to these team fights, and well, now IG.V knocking on the door of high ground with no great way to get the counterplay out.
Yeah, these are the opportunities that IG needs to go high ground. Have these big team fight ultimates used and them not taking too much damage from it. And in that last team fight, they took no damage from it, and they're able to take that tier 3 tower, which is going to open up the shrines for them, and then probably Roshan following.
Just saying, you see there, he wanted that RP so badly, but
they were really split up.
Yeah,
they were all over the place. Monkey King and Venge were totally far away from their team, and then they Chronosphered the OD, who was kind of off on his own, but that Shiva is making OD so tanky, so now Void is really struggling with damage.
Oh, and they are moving in now towards Roche, but it's already falling quite rapidly. Super in the meantime farming Ancients. Oh, A stun, not quite on the mark, but they pull back in the PA. All right, maybe the setup though for the big RP connects onto 2. Where's the Void? Does he have enough damage here? It doesn't quite look like it. LPC is dead because they have this OD on the backline. He's gonna end up probably killing his own team because of this Chronosphere that's dropped. Super now gone upon as well, in a hell of a lot of trouble. They lift up the Magnus to boot. Super gone, Ginseng gone, triple kill for Sakata. Aegis in hand, IG.V looking to close out this best of 1.
He almost killed that illusion in that Chronosphere. He wanted it, but I mean, that 15 gold, or whatever it is, was just a little too daunting for him.
Yeah, it's a rough one then that goes down in that way.
Nah, not his best game on Void, I think.
I mean, there's so much pressure on this as well.
Yeah, he's definitely not set up for success, but that was a pretty big team fight, and chronoing nothing more than an illusion is not too good.
That's pretty fair, I would say. Pretty fair criticism, leveled out. But Barracks 1 down. LFY, never give up, never surrender.
This is a best of 1. There's no reason to GG out until it's totally over. They have a great lineup. You know, Magnus will help them deal with the kind of mega creeps coming their way, but with no team fight ultimates, they have no chance of really defending.
Well, LFY, they're actually going to call it right there. What an end. At the end of the day, oh my God, Sakata with the manner.
Oh, the bad manner, OD all dropping the hammer.
IG Vitality are going to take it down, and that felt pretty easy. I don't know about you, but I felt like there was never a point where they're outside, the game was outside their control.
I think they knew what to do against the Magnus. They set up really well. I think every pick was very well calculated, and I think they got all the picks that they wanted.
Yeah. So IG.V are going to move on. In your eyes, to me, it felt like the Batrider was the cog that made all of that work in his early farm. Is that something that you feel like teams are going to need to look at going forward?
I'm not sure. Batrider seems to be pretty good against like a Magnus kind of melee hero lineup, but I don't think the hero is particularly too strong. But In July plays one of the best Batriders out there, and obviously they know how to play around it, so it works.
All right, well, that's going to do it for game number 1 of these best of 1s. Teams getting eliminated left and right today. 4 are going to be gone by the end. Paul, I'm curious what you guys thought of the Batrider and all that play. We'll send it back to you guys.
Thanks very much, Lyrical. Yes, a very clear-cut winner in our first best of 1. I wonder what our panel made of it. And, well, let's ask them now. Gods, what went wrong for LFY there?
Started in the early game. Monkey King wasn't very effective, to say the least. I was watching the minimap because like we just have the observer, so we can't obviously click around so much. But
what was
watching
he doing?
his dot on the minimap, I'm like, went from top to bottom. He could have contested the Batrider jungle. He could have gone bottom. He could have helped mid. I don't know. I didn't really feel any impact from him at all this game.
He was role-playing George of the Jungle, just jumping from tree to tree to tree. Literally, it just was doing nothing else.
And the little King of the Hill battle there.
Yeah, I mean,
this was good. This was fun.
To further berate him, like, he gets stunned because he tangos the tree he's on here. I'm just like,
there were so many flabbergasting plays from LFY. And also some really strong ones from IG.V.
Yeah.
Dogfights in particular.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't do anything wrong, did they, IG.V? They just waited, you know, just knew that the game was theirs and just made sure they did all the things they needed to all the way through to make sure they got the win.
What I think is really good for IG.V in this particular game, it feels effortless. This is just, you know, it's their game plan and then you get interrupted. They just do what they do. They don't show anything off that they haven't before. So going forward, you know, they have maybe still got more up their sleeves than what we just said, but it seems so easy. And what do you learn if you're watching, if IG.V is going to be your next opponent, what do you learn from this match?
You learn not to AFK jungle your first
Yes, which, to be honest, you know, should have been a given.
Yeah, you learn that if you're going to pick Magnus and you're facing In July and they need an initiator and you're going to have a bunch of melee heroes, don't leave Batrider. I mean, they're like...
They banned Alg. I think they were too worried about some of the cheese heroes, I guess you could say. They had a lineup that could have easily dealt with an Alg, perhaps, but or at least dealt with an Alg. Void had some pretty questionable chronos, but it's also a hard Void game because there's no damage to throw in the chrono, really. It's just like stifling daggers. I guess Wukong's command is theoretically meant to combo with it, but...
It didn't really get off at all. And the Magnus on its own, like, he didn't get any help from...
How did he watch them? How did he watch the jokes just spin away like that? And then Chrono.
This was
I mean, at this point, they are already too far behind. I feel like it all fell apart in the laning stage. Magnus was level 5 by like 9 minutes into the game. He couldn't get anything done, and yeah, it was I think a very demoralizing game for LFY as well.
Well, I think
yeah,
the early-ish GG.
Yeah, they're
not really that early, but they did. They're like, okay, we're done. There's no way back into that, and they were right. Disappointing for them as well. We mentioned at the top of the program that they're a team that surprised us a little bit during the group stage because they weren't too far away from finishing in the top 2.
They got to choose their opponent. They weren't choosing their opponent from the tougher group. I mean, the fact you got to choose between IG.V or EG is like...
Yeah, not great, is it?
Like,
but still, gone. First team out. Not a satisfactory result for them at all.
No, I mean they were definitely one of the bottom, like the ranking teams coming in. I think they didn't qualify for the major. They weren't really that close in those qualifiers. But considering their group stage, they would have expected more. And considering they were versing a team they should be familiar with, having played a lot in the Chinese scene, it shouldn't have been such a one-sided affair.
IG.V, what do you make of them? I mean, they had a weird group stage, didn't they? Sometimes they looked really great, and then other days looked awful.
When they 2-0'd EG, and everybody was like, "Whoa, this is looking real good." But there was dog fights on Earth Spirit, and I feel like that's the real key to this team. You take that hero away from them, and they have have a worse laning stage, and that good laning stage is what gets them as far as they did, I think.
Yeah, I think that this is probably there are I think a number of teams who the patch is still relatively new. We're still making adjustments from 7.0 to 7.04. We did have a difference in the meta, I think. So some of these teams, they don't really have the most fully fleshed out strategies. I think, like, for example, IG, I feel like they have like 2 or 3 really strong ones, and they can rotate between those. I think some of these other teams only really look good on like 1 or 2 strategies or even less. And I think that may be one of the things that determines this tournament, right, is who actually has the most versatility in their draft right now, who actually is the most fleshed out across the board.
Yeah.
Okay. And any final consolation words for LFY?
Oh.
Get better at Monkey King.
See, and
that's
the point, though. During the group stages, White was their star player on Monkey King. The reason I kept bringing him up is like if LFY, they're not that high tier team, and if you're gonna follow them, and that's the person to follow because his Monkey King is great. And then they show this, and I feel like maybe the nerves got to them. Overall, it's a fairly young team, and they're playing in front of a home crowd. IG.V is the more favorable team for the crowd as well, and as people might have noticed, they will show their favor in the cheering as well. So it's interview time.
Yep. Let's cut across and get Jack to convert the interview for us.
We finally made it past. How do you feel? Really happy. We finally managed to advance past the first round in the LAN. It's a big breakthrough for us. Before you came here, did you give your team a goal? Where did you think you'd finish? To us, because we haven't played well recently, so we just hope to not get eliminated in the first round, and we achieved that. Very happy. Just not one round, and that's it. Yeah, we'll just take it one game at a time moving forward. IG.V, we know all of you guys have stayed in the same room and in such a tough setting. What's the feeling being together like that? To be in a big competition like this, it's very exciting. There's so many fans here. Feels like there's a lot of pressure too, but a lot of motivation as well. Do you feel nervous? A little bit, but once we start playing, not so much. After you start playing, how many points would you give yourself for this performance? Personally, I would say just good enough. I felt like I played all right, but my teammates all played really well, and so I was able to lie down and win this one. Just holding on to your carry, huh? Let's ask something. People are worried about passports and visas because IG.V has had visa issues before in the past. Do you think you've solved these, or do you think these are out of the way? For visa issues, I think it's just with the United States. Our 2 supports still don't have US visas, but last year we managed to get some other visas, including to Europe, and I hope that helps us next time moving forward for the US. Congratulations once again to IG.V. Hope you play better and better going forward. And here's our replay.
Yes. Interesting responses. Some interesting questions there. Thanks to Jack for the translations. Obviously, I did the translations this morning during the opening ceremony.
Yes, you're so good, Paul.
See,
Wow.
no one
So
got
impressive.
our April Fool's joke, because it's past 12 o'clock here, obviously, so we can say it was far too subtle, wasn't it?
It was. What are you talking about? Are you only allowed to make jokes in the morning?
Yeah, you're supposed to do it up to midday, and then you could admit that it was an April Fool's afterwards. Otherwise, the joke's on you, apparently. It's something to do with that. I don't know the rules fully, but I'm just going along with it. Yeah, so it wasn't me, obviously, this morning. So thank you
Who
to
would've
Jack.
thought?
Who would have thought? It wasn't me doing Mandarin. My Mandarin revolves around 7 words, and nearly all of them revolve around some sort of rice that I've ordered in a restaurant. Thank you very much to Shiva, to Capitalist, and to Gods. We're headed to a break right now. When we come back, though, we will continue on in the lower bracket. Best of ones.